Part 1. Awakening the Unseen, the Gateway Within. Have you ever felt that there is something inside you, something ancient, something vast that's always been there, watching, waiting? That quiet whisper in the silence, the tingling behind your forehead when you meditate, or even that sense that you know something before it happens. This is not imagination. This is the edge of an ancient truth. You are not just a being in flesh and bone, you are a soul carrying a key to the door of the unseen realms. And that key is the third eye, but only the chosen know how to truly wield it. The journey begins not when we decide to seek, but when we realize we've always been seeking. From the moment we are born, we search for meaning, for peace, for connection. But all of these things are symptoms of a deeper hunger, the hunger to see beyond. The third eye is not just a mystical concept locked in ancient scrolls. It is a living organ of perception, dormant in most, awakened in few. And when it begins to open, reality begins to bend. But why is it hidden? Why are only a few chosen to unlock its full power? The truth is, the third eye does not belong to the ego. It is not a tool for power in the worldly sense. It is sacred, and sacred things veil themselves from the unworthy. We must become worthy through inner purification, through silence, through surrender. The world has taught us to chase noise, but the third eye opens only in stillness. Ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly silent, not just quiet, but empty? No thoughts, no fears, no plans. That silence is the doorway, and yet we avoid it. We run from it. Why? Because the moment we become still, we begin to see, and what we see is not always comforting. A third eye reveals not just light, but also the shadows we've buried. It shows us our attachments, our illusions, our masks. As you begin to awaken the eye, you may experience strange phenomena. Flashes of insight, vivid dreams, a sense of presence in the room when no one is there. These are not hallucinations. These are the first glimpses into the deeper fabric of reality. The veil is thinning. But here is the warning. The third eye is not a toy. It is sacred fire. It either purifies you or burns you. That is why only the chosen can handle its full power.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
We are not chosen by some external god or being. We choose ourselves. Every moment you resist your lower impulses, every time you choose truth over comfort, every time you sit in meditation, instead of picking up your phone, you are choosing to become chosen. And the eye responds. Slowly, subtly, it begins to open, like petals of a lotus unfolding in divine timing. There are ancient teachings that say the third eye is connected to the pineal gland, a tiny organ in the center of your brain. But it is more than biological, it is metaphysical. The pineal gland is the antenna. The third eye is the signal. When the antenna is clear, free of toxins, of distractions, of worry, it begins to pick up the frequencies of higher realms. You begin to tune into what mystics call the Akasha, the library of all knowledge, all wisdom, all soul memory. And here is where the journey intensifies. As your third eye begins to awaken, you will notice synchronicities, those strange coincidences that feel too meaningful to be random. You think of someone, and they call. You dream of an answer, and it shows up in your waking life. This is not magic. This is alignment. You are beginning to see the threads behind the tapestry of life. You are no longer just a piece of the puzzle. You are starting to see the whole puzzle itself. But with vision comes responsibility. When you begin to see, you can no longer unsee. You will see the suffering in others as your own. You will see the lies in the world that no longer hold authority over you. You will see the illusions of materialism, the traps of ego, the false promises of society. And that can be overwhelming. Many turn back at this stage, but the chosen do not turn back. They go deeper. Ask yourself this now. If you could see the true nature of reality, would you still want to? Even if it destroyed every belief you've ever held, even if it shattered your sense of identity. Because the eye does not show you what you want to see. It shows you what is. And what is true often requires the death of who we think we are. You may wonder, how do I activate it? How do I open this eye? The answer is both simple and profound. You stop closing it. Every time you lie, you close it. Every time you distract yourself, you close it. Every time you betray your inner knowing, you close it. The eye is not something to be forced open. It is something that opens when we become honest, aligned, and courageous. Meditation is the sacred doorway. But not just any meditation, the kind that burns, the kind that strips you of your masks. Sit in silence. Place your attention gently between your eyebrows and just breathe. Let the thoughts come and let them go. Do not resist. Do not chase. Just be. And in that being, you will feel it. A pressure, a pulse, a presence. That is the eye beginning to stir. At this point, many will begin to experience visions not always grand or cinematic, but symbolic. A serpent, a light, a flame, an eye within an eye. These are sacred archetypes. Do not analyze them. Let them speak to your soul, not your mind. The eye speaks in symbols, not words. It bypasses intellect and goes straight to essence. And then, one day, something shifts. You walk into a room, and you feel the energy before anyone speaks. You meet someone, and you sense their pain before they say a word. You begin to hear the silence behind the noise, and the truth behind the words. This is not imagination. This is perception. You are beginning to see with the eye of the soul. But beware, not everyone will understand. When you begin to awaken, it will trigger the sleeping ones around you. They may mock you. They may fear you. They may try to bring you back down. Do not hate them. They are not your enemies. They are just afraid. Your light reminds them of their own darkness. Shine anyway. There is a reason the eye is in the center of the forehead. It is the bridge between the mind and the soul. When you see from it, you no longer judge with logic, you discern with intuition. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer seek validation, you stand in knowing. And that knowing is unshakable. The eye does not just allow you to see the invisible. It reveals your true nature. You begin to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. You remember the lifetimes you've lived, the soul contracts you've made, the mission you came here to fulfill. And suddenly, everything makes sense. The pain, the loss, the longing, it all led you here, to this very moment, to this awakening. So I ask you again, are you ready to see? Not just light and beauty, but shadows and truth. Are you ready to stop running? Because the third eye does not open to the curious. It opens to the courageous, the ones who dare to look within, the ones who are willing to face themselves completely. You are not listening to this by accident. Something in you already knows. The eye is stirring. The veil is thinning. The universe is calling. Will you answer? Part 2. The vision that sees through time and illusion. When the third eye begins to open, the world doesn't change, you change. And because you change, the way you perceive the world transforms completely. What once seemed solid now appears malleable. What once felt random now feels orchestrated. You begin to sense that everything is connected in a vast web of intelligence, and you are no longer just a part of it, you are a conscious participant in it. This is when time begins to bend. You may find yourself remembering things that haven't yet happened. You may feel déjà vu not as a quirk of memory, but as confirmation. You've been here before, not in body, but in essence. The third eye does not see through the eyes of the body, it sees through the eyes of the soul. And the soul is not bound by time. Time is a construct of the lower mind. The eye sees past it, straight into the eternal now. But this is where things become difficult. The mind will resist. It will scream, "This isn't logical." It will try to pull you back into the known, the predictable, the explainable. That is its job, to protect the identity it has built over years. But you are not here to protect your identity. You are here to transcend it. And to do that, you must allow the eye to show you not just the light, but the illusions you've mistaken for truth. Let's ask something daring. What if most of what you've been taught to believe about the world, about yourself, about success, about love is not true? What if it's a collective illusion built by those who have forgotten who they are? The eye begins to challenge everything. Your beliefs, your attachments, your assumptions. This is the dark night of the soul, and it is sacred. Because only through the death of illusion can the light of truth be born. In this stage of awakening, many will feel isolated. You may begin to see things others don't. You may feel energies, sense motives, read emotions without words. And because most people are still asleep, they won't understand. But do not let that deter you. The chosen always walk a lonely path, especially in the beginning. But you are never truly alone. The more the eye opens, the more you begin to sense the presence of unseen allies, guides, ancestors, higher aspects of yourself. You may begin to receive messages not in language, but in symbols, in feelings, in dreams. These are not hallucinations. They are the echoes of a deeper reality breaking through the surface of your awareness. The eye is the receiver. The universe is always transmitting. The question is, are you tuned in? And now a deeper truth begins to emerge. You realize that the eye does not just help you see reality, it helps you create it. Because perception shapes manifestation. When you perceive from fear, you create with limitation. When you perceive from truth, you create with power. The eye does not just watch, it projects. It is both window and mirror. You begin to understand that reality is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens through you. This is where the real power lies. Not in controlling others, not in manipulating outcomes, but in mastering how you see. Because how you see determines how you act, and how you act shapes the world around you. The eye is the seat of divine vision, the ability to see not just with clarity, but with compassion. To see not just what is, but what could be. And in that space, miracles are born. But this power must be handled with humility. The eye responds to purity, not pride. The moment you begin to use your vision for selfish gain, it begins to close. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because the eye is sacred. It does not serve the ego. It serves the soul. And the soul is not interested in survival. It is interested in evolution. At this stage, something magical begins to happen. You begin to see the divine in everything, in the stranger's smile, in the silence between words, in the sadness that once broke you. You realize that nothing was ever wasted. Every heartbreak was a doorway. Every mistake was a map. Every tear was a baptism. The eye teaches you to love differently, not romantically, but universally. You begin to love not just people, but existence itself. You start to see patterns, sacred geometries in nature, energetic grids in cities, karmic loops in relationships. Life begins to look like a code, and you are learning how to read it. You realize that everything speaks: the trees, the wind, the stars. And you begin to listen. Really listen. Not with ears, but with essence. And then the visions intensify. You may see a version of yourself you've never met, a future self, wise and radiant, or a past self, wounded but powerful. These are not fantasies. They are fragments of your multi-dimensional being returning to you. The eye collapses the illusion of separation. You are not many versions, you are one soul unfolding across dimensions. And that realization changes everything. Now ask yourself something terrifyingly beautiful. Who would you be if you remembered all your lifetimes? If you could feel the wisdom of every version of you, past and future, flowing through your veins right now, what choices would you make? What fears would vanish instantly? The eye doesn't just show you that version, it invites you to become it. But becoming that version means letting go of your anger, of your blame, of your victimhood. These are weights. The eye cannot open fully until you are willing to set them down. Forgiveness is not a favor to others, it is freedom for yourself. The eye thrives in lightness. Every grudge is a blindfold, every resentment a veil. As your vision deepens, so does your responsibility. You begin to sense your role not as a passive observer, but as an agent of transformation. You realize that your awakening is not about escaping the world, it's about healing it. Every insight you receive is a seed, and you are the gardener. Will you plant it? Will you water it with action, with courage, with compassion? You understand now that the chosen are not elitists, they are those who chose to remember, who chose to feel everything, who chose to see the truth even when it hurt. And in doing so, they became mirrors for others. That is your task now. Not to preach, but to embody. Not to convince, but to radiate. Your vision is your gift. Your presence is your message. And then one day you realize something profound. The third eye was never just about seeing the invisible, it was about becoming it. You are not a being who has a soul. You are a soul who has a body. And the eye is the bridge between those two truths. When the eye is open, you live from the soul, not the script. You move from intuition, not insecurity. You act from knowing, not needing. In this state, miracles become natural. You speak, and reality bends. You dream, and opportunities appear. You pray, and the universe responds, not because you are special, but because you are aligned. The eye is not a superpower. It is your natural state. The miracle is not that some people awaken, it is that so many forget. So I leave you with a question that only your soul can answer. What would your life look like if you lived every moment as if your third eye was fully open? What would you stop tolerating? Who would you stop pretending to be? What would you finally dare to create? This is not just a spiritual journey. This is a spiritual revolution. And it begins with vision, your vision. The world needs chosen ones now more than ever. Not to lead in the old ways, but to illuminate the new. The eye is open. The path is clear. The veil is lifting. Are you ready to walk it? Part 3. The final veil. Becoming the eye itself. There comes a moment in the journey, quiet, still, almost imperceptible, where the seeker no longer seeks. Where the one who looked through the eye becomes the eye itself. This is the final transformation. It is not dramatic. It is not loud. It is sacredly subtle, and yet it changes everything. You no longer ask for signs, you are the sign. You no longer wait for guidance, you are the guidance. This is the point where the chosen step fully into their role, not as saviors, not as masters, but as mirrors. You begin to realize that everything, absolutely everything, is reflecting you back to yourself. The universe is not outside you. It is inside you, echoing through every thought, every emotion, every experience. The eye is not looking into the world, it is creating the world from within. And with that realization comes the greatest responsibility you will ever hold, the responsibility to be truth. Now the illusions fall even faster. The idea that you are separate from others begins to dissolve. You see that the one you judged is you, the one you loved is you, the one you feared is you. Every face is a facet of the same diamond. Every soul, another angle of the infinite looking back at itself. You walk through the world no longer as a person, but as presence. And presence changes everything it touches. But don't be fooled. This is not the end of the journey. This is the beginning of a higher one. As your vision expands, so do the tests. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it is precise. With greater vision comes greater contrast. You will be shown your deepest attachments, your hidden fears, your subtle ego, not to punish you, but to purify you. The eye cannot remain open where illusion still lingers. You will be tempted to close it again, to return to comfort, to pretend you didn't see. But once you've tasted truth, illusion loses its flavor. You can't go back to sleep. Not really. You may try, but the soul remembers, and it will keep calling, through dreams, through synchronicities, through restlessness that won't go away. The eye may blink, but it cannot unsee. At this point, you begin to live in the paradox. You are fully human and yet fully divine. You feel pain, but you are not consumed by it. You experience joy, but you are not attached to it. You act in the world, but you are not of it. This is mastery, not control over others, but sovereignty over self. You are no longer moved by the waves of life. You have become the ocean. Now the visions shift. They are not just personal, they are planetary. You begin to see the energetic structures of society, the karma of nations, the soul contracts of entire generations. You see the future not as fate, but as frequency, and you understand that your vibration is your contribution. Every thought is a ripple, every intention a blueprint. You are standing at the control panel of creation. In this state, miracles are not rare. They are constant. You think, and it manifests. You speak, and it resonates. You touch, and it heals. Not because you are doing anything special, but because you are finally aligned with what's already true. The third eye is not about power over reality. It is about unity with reality. And that unity creates flow. But something even more sacred begins to emerge surface. You realize that the eye was never about you. It was about what you could do for others once you remembered. The chosen are not chosen to rise above, they are chosen to lift others up. You begin to teach, not with words, but with presence. You begin to heal, not with methods, but with love. You begin to lead, not with control, but with clarity. Ask yourself now, if you knew your thoughts shaped the collective field, what would you think? If your vibration affected the world, how would you move through it? The eye teaches us that everything echoes. There are no private thoughts, no hidden emotions. All is seen, all is felt, all is shaping reality. This is why purity becomes essential. Not moral purity, but energetic purity. The clarity of intention, the honesty of heart, the courage to feel fully. When the eye is clean, your entire being becomes a conduit. You channel wisdom, peace, compassion not from effort, but from being. You become a lighthouse in a storm, a still point in the chaos. And now, the veil begins to dissolve, not just between you and others, but between you and the universe itself. You begin to feel the intelligence behind all things, not intellectually, but viscerally. You look at the moon, and it speaks to you. You feel the stars vibrating in your chest. You hear the trees whispering truths that books could never hold. You are no longer in the universe. You are of it. You are it. And then comes the most sacred shift of all, the disappearance of the seeker. You no longer chase awakening. You no longer strive to open the eye, because you realize it was never closed. It was always open. It was your mind that was shut, your heart that was guarded, your soul that was waiting. The eye is not a destination, it is your origin. So what do you do now? You live fully, consciously, radiantly. You eat with awareness. You speak with blessing. You walk as prayer. Your life becomes your temple, your breath, your mantra, your gaze, your gift. Because now you know you are the eye, and everything you look upon is holy. But here is the final mystery. The more you become the eye, the less you exist as a separate self. The ego begins to dissolve not in death, but in devotion. You become empty so that the divine can fill you. You become still so that truth can move through you. You become nothing, and in that nothingness, you become everything. This is the secret power behind the third eye of the chosen. Not power over others, not power for self, but the divine power of remembrance. The power to see the truth in all things. The power to heal through presence. The power to create through vision. And ultimately, the power to be fully, fearlessly, freely. So I ask you in this final moment, will you choose to remember? Will you choose to see, not just through the eye, but as the eye? The world is waiting. The veil is thin. The time is now. You are not watching this by accident. You are not reading these words by coincidence. This is your activation, your call, your moment of return. The eye is open. The path is clear. The chosen are rising. And you were born for this.